It's really exhausting when you day-to-day live in injustice in your workplace.
When your employer tells you to do something and your job is on the line, you don't really have a choice to say no.
It's a lot of campaigning and getting people angry about it and getting other people passionate.
Without BCFED, we'd still be sitting on picket lines then.
It is essential, the work that the BC Federation does.
On behalf of the workers, whether they're Indigenous or not, whoever the workers are and wherever they're working.
Employment standards, workplace safety, farm workers issues, minimum wage.
We depend upon organizations like the BC Federation of Labor to advise us about what sorts of regulations should be put in place.
They represent the interests of working families.
The job of the Federation is to make sure that no one's alone, that anybody who fights in this province is fighting for basic rights. And that doesn't just mean helping each other on picket lines when unions are going on strike. It means helping people who don't have a union. So it is a broad mandate, and that's really what I believe the Federation is all about, to make all working people's lives better.
No, this was a big battle, and this is a battle, you know, between us and the government or our employer. And when day to day it feels like the government, you know, is attacking, you can't help but take it personally because it is your life.
The biggest problem was the port wasn't helping at all. We knocked on the BC government and the federal government, and we asked them to help us out, but nobody was listening at the time. So we all decided, you know, the only way they're going to listen is to shut it down.
And that's where maybe I can just start talking about the BC Federation of Labor, because that was like a big booming voice, and I would say booming voice, often with a megaphone in hand at rallies.
They were just, you know, guiding us through the way and then saying this is what you got to do, this is the meeting you guys got to go to, and you got to have a meeting with the federal government and the provincial. And basically they kind of guided everybody through that little fiasco.
And there was no way we could have done it on our own as teachers at this school, or teachers in Burnaby, or teachers provincially. But when you take our federation, the BC Teachers Federation, and you put it with the BC Federation of Labor, all of those people, it's thousands and thousands of people, that's a community.
We're stronger if we're together. We're stronger if we have a common voice, and the Federation plays that same role in dealing with whether it's the national government or the provincial government or industry groups to support the well-being and dignity of workers.
The accident was on a Friday. I remember it was me starting grade 7. My dad left, and I asked him if I could come along, and the last words that he ever said to me was, "Just stay here, I'll be right back." The men that went down into the tank, they weren't aware of how dangerous the place was actually. There were no signs telling them that it was poisonous gases that were present. My dad's been in a coma ever since then.
The BC Federation of Labor has been very active in saying we think something better should be happening here.
Because if people don't know what their rights are, they can't exercise their rights. If they don't understand what the dangers are, then they can't protect themselves from the dangers. So our whole purpose is to go out and train people in British Columbia, because frankly, they get almost no training anywhere.
Jim and the whole entire team, they've been so helpful, and they've been beside me the whole way through. He has made me realize that I'm able to speak for others and not just myself. There are so many other families out there who have lost a loved one. That's why I'm still fighting to this day. I just think about how nobody else should have to go through that.
Well, in my experience, the Federation of Labor was involved at every level of politics, from campaigning to get politicians elected, through to planning policy that met the needs of working families, and then making sure that the policy was actually doing the right things for working families.
Coming to Canada, we spoke with immigration officials in Nova Scotia, and they told us that we would not have any problems finding work. And we get here, and my family's been using the food bank for over 3 years now. And when the minimum wage went up to $10.25, it meant that we could once a week do a grocery shop where we could buy things that we wanted to buy and not be so reliant on the food bank.
Every single dollar a minimum wage earner makes I guarantee goes back into the economy and rotates through the economy and grows the economy.
I think the moment that I realized that I was going to be a political activist for the rest of my life was working on the $10 Now campaign with the Fed. You just know that that's it. I can't do anything else.
If we make things better for everybody at the bottom, we lift everyone. It's one of the most remarkable things about an organization like the BCFED is how much work they do for people that aren't even their members.
I think the fundamental common issue is one of social justice.
Justice in the workplace.
Representing the workers
To help people who are trying to fight for their rights.
And treating each other with respect.
And that's exactly what the BC Federation of Labor and the trade union movement do. Their influence and their efforts and their advocacy transverses all of working people in British Columbia.
And the essence of the whole labor movement came down to this for me when I was telling my former union president how to run the union. And he told me to shut up, and he pointed his finger at me. And he said, there's two things you have to learn about the working class before you can pretend you're going to make a difference. The first thing is we didn't get a goddamn thing we didn't fight for. You know, there was nothing in that collective agreement that came because the boss came into the lunchroom, stood up in a chair and said, excuse me, can I interrupt you? I noticed you have children. Would you like a dental plan? Everything we have that really counts, you have to fight for. And he looks at me and he says, you don't get to keep it unless you keep fighting.